Hi, I'm Audrey Fletcher, and I'm here today to share with you my amazing discovery that ancient Egyptians were here in the northeast of England at least 4,000 years ago. In March 2021, it was reported that 5 stone anchors were discovered lying in the River Wear at North Hylton by underwater archaeologist Bankhead. As many Roman artefacts were discovered nearby, the anchors were also thought to be of Roman origin. But were they? Today the stone anchors are on display at Hylton Castle, midway between Sunderland and Worm Hill at Fatfield, Washington. The 5 stone anchors are made up of a selection of shapes, sizes and thicknesses, which indicates a variety in the size of vessels that used to sail up and anchor in the River Wear at North Hylton. Notice how only 3 types of stone seem to have been used. 4 of the anchors were considered to be made from local Hylton stone, while the 5th was from near Whitby. The small white anchor with the broken hole and covered in prehistoric cup marks would appear to be the odd one out, and therefore the anchor from near Whitby. But wait a minute, where did this ghostly image of a face appear from? Now how uncanny is that? The long head and facial features portrayed suggest a man of African origin. Now let us turn to an examination of the stone anchors. Are they of Roman origin? As stone anchors are usually found in the Mediterranean, these are indeed an extremely rare find, indicating that although they were made from local stone, they were actually created by merchant seamen or traders from overseas. Note how on the top stone anchor there is ancient writing, symbols and numbers carved into the stone, and on the bottom one there is a carved face, or is it possibly a map of Africa? Animal images have been carved into this anchor stone. On figures 1 and 2 of the same anchor stone, there is a distinct image of a bull, as well as an animal with a sharp face, long legs and tail, facing in the opposite direction. On figure 3, the W is an ancient Egyptian hieroglyph for water. On figure 1, the pecked outline for the constellation of Taurus the bull and or Pisces the fish in the shape of a V is clearly visible. This anchor stone clearly needs a lot more investigation. In this photo of the anchor with the carved face or map of Africa, taken at a slightly different angle, an image of a boat is revealed. It is of a very distinctive style and can be identified as an ancient Egyptian funerary boat, which can be dated back to at least 2000 BC. The funnel-like prow is unmistakably ancient Egyptian. And here are 2 further examples of ancient Egyptian funerary boats from about 2000 BC. Ancient Egyptian mariners were berthed on the River Wear in 2000 BC. Although the anchor is made from local stone, the image created is of an ancient Egyptian funerary boat, which suggests that it was created by a member of an ancient Egyptian crew who was very familiar with such a funerary boat, and, by association, the ancient Egyptian religious beliefs and practices. Coincidentally, in 1885 this crude prehistoric dugout boat was discovered in the River Wear at South Hylton. It was dated to around 2000 BC and made from the trunk of an oak tree. And finally we come to the exquisite stone anchor covered in images of various animals, birds and fish. Some may be accounted for as constellations in the northern sky, others as deities of ancient Egypt, Overall, they can be said to represent the basic elements of earth, air, fire, and water. Essentially, this is the recorded journey of a learned man, an ancient Egyptian, travelling across the northern night sky in a boat. Not only is this ancient Egyptian a mariner, he is also an astronomer, fine artist, and scribe. That this extraordinarily exquisite anchor stone was found in the same cache as the first one recording the bull's head, and the second one recording the ancient Egyptian funerary boat, suggests that they are all of a similar date, 2000 BC or earlier. At the upper left is the constellation of Cygnus, the swan, grey on a white background. That it is a representation of the constellation is indicated by the five-pointed star positioned immediately above its black beak. Cygnus is also known as the Northern Cross. To the left of Cygnus is a huge cross within a circle, which typically can be taken to represent the precession of the equinoxes in the ancient world. Below Cygnus is the constellation of Aquila, the eagle. Together with Lyra, Cygnus and Aquila form the summer triangle. The constellation of the Little Dipper, the Little Bear, lies directly to the right of the summer triangle and is shown on the next slide. At the top left of the anchor there is an exquisite etching of the constellation of Ursa Minor, the Little Bear. Although not a native of ancient Egypt, the bear was well known there as early as 2496 BC. The appearance of the little bear on the anchor would indicate that it was known to the ancient Egyptians long before it was adopted by the ancient Greeks. Yet another two creatures of the heavens, fish, are recorded on the anchor, representing the constellation of Pisces. Pisces is one of the earliest zodiac signs on record, with the two fish appearing as far back as 2300 BC on an ancient Egyptian coffin lid. The civet, as recorded on the stone anchor, was venerated in ancient Egypt, where he was transformed into a pair of lions, who represented the god of the underworld, Acre, who guarded the Ajet, the eternal place of the rising sun in the east and the setting sun in the west, thereby embedding the concept of creation, death, and rebirth. In this etching on the anchor, Taurus the bull appears to be charging with his head down. Notice the heavy hind quarters and hooves, and how the anchor stone itself has been sculpted to fit the shape of the bull. This would appear to be the family of Taurus the bull. For this to be the case, the central cow with the sun disk between its horns would need to represent the ancient Egyptian goddess Hathor, who embodied the concept of motherhood. Sailing across the night sky is a boat with a square sail, imprinted with a five-pointed star. Also, a man is seated in the stern of the boat, facing towards the sail. Above the sail is the ancient Egyptian symbol for the Eye of Ra. The boat appears to be made of papyrus reeds. There are lots of signs and symbols on the anchor, but I wonder, can you find a particular line of writing which tends to stand out from the rest? Initially I considered the writing to be Linear A of Minoan Crete about 1800 BC and an offshoot of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. However, due to the strong ancient Egyptian character of the anchor stone, I realized that the writing must in fact be ancient Egyptian. I consider the writing on the anchor stone as a combination of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, pictograms and ideograms. My interpretation is, I descend from the heavens towards the house of the rebirth of the day, sunrise, through eternity. In other words, in the boat of Osiris I have sailed across the heavens overnight with the stars and constellations, and am now returning to the house of the sunrise, to follow the sun Ra on his journey through the day. This cycle will last through eternity. He is encompassing the concept of creation, death, and rebirth, eternal life. We now come to the question of why the ancient Egyptians were lying at harbour in the River Wear in 2000 BC. Had they been shipwrecked? Were they explorers or traders? Were they importing supplies for other ancient Egyptian settlements further up the River Wear and across Durham and Yorkshire? Were they here because this was considered to be the land of the dead in the far west? Or were they here to participate in the rituals at the prehistoric circles at what is now Mount Pleasant at Fatfield? Or were they here to bury their dead in the vast Bronze Age cemetery at Fatfield? I would suggest that the ultimate reason for the ancient Egyptians to be birthed at North Hylton was settlement, colonization, and that North Hylton was their first port of call for the area. There is further evidence that the ancient Egyptians colonized Durham. The map of Durham to the left of the screen indicates supposed major Roman roads. However, in 2009, I discovered that they actually outlined the mummified ancient Egyptian god Osiris, as well as the image of the constellation of Orion the giant. On the map opposite, notice how the sword of Orion was not interpreted as such by the ancient Egyptians. Rather, it was considered to be displaying Orion's masculine prowess. The recondite is the arm of Orion. This side view of the constellation of Orion in the image of the ancient Egyptian god Osiris, clearly outlined in broken red lines in County Durham, can only have been created by the ancient Egyptians. Unlike the constellation above, Orion, as portrayed on the extended map of Durham and Yorkshire, has legs, representing, as previously mentioned, the mummified ancient Egyptian god Osiris. Orion and Osiris are as one. The ancient Egyptians believed that following upon sacred ritual, the mummified pharaoh was deified, becoming the god Osiris who resided in the heavens as the constellation of Orion. The sacred image of the mummified ancient Egyptian god Osiris is skillfully and faithfully recorded on this map of Durham and North Yorkshire, a sacred image which can only have been recorded by the ancient Egyptians. And here is my discovery of how the constellation of Orion is overlaid upon the Durham landscape, on earth as it is in heaven. In conclusion, at least 2 of the stone anchors confirm that ancient Egyptians visited North Hylton 2000 BC or earlier. What was previously considered as a Roman road network on a map of northeast England and Scotland is in fact a faithful reproduction of the ancient Egyptian god Osiris. The constellation of Orion the giant, recorded on the Durham landscape, confirms that the ancient Egyptians were not just trading visitors. It would have taken a great deal of time for exploration to discover the ideal locations to duplicate heaven on earth. The ancient Egyptians had found their holy land, their hallowed land of the dead, where the sun set in the west on the far horizon. It was their Albion, where their god of the dead Osiris became as one with the constellation of Orion. Well everyone, I hope that you have enjoyed this presentation and subscribed to my channel. I look forward to sharing my continued research with you in my next video. Bye for now.